Receiving this picture definitely warranted an oh golly response from me, I'd say. But before we talk about this fox's story, let's talk about the fox who came to me right before this one, who was an infamous fox around a town called Palmyra, New York. Pause, let me preface this video by saying I have a legitimate to-do list. And on that, it says get a new phone. I'm sorry my audio is so bad. I will get a new phone this week. This little fox got a lot of social media time. People would start posting whenever they spotted the town's fox, whenever they were nervous about it. Other people would be commenting, just leave the thing alone, it's a wild fox, don't bug it. Most people immediately start panicking. They think the fox is going to eat their kids, eat their chihuahuas, eat all their cats in the neighborhood, and it's a whole thing. This town was great about a lot of people being like, just leave it alone, let it be a wild animal. People even started to refer to this town mascot as George. So I was keeping a close eye on this situation. People were tagging me in comments, people were texting me, screenshotting me things. And I waited a little bit to step in, hoping that this was just simply a juvenile fox from this year. I did decide to make a post addressing this, explaining a bunch of stuff. You can pause and read that if you'd like to. In order to successfully live trap a fox, I would need to be working directly with a homeowner or landowner where the fox frequents. I can't just go around towns setting live traps for wild animals. And that only would have been if I thought that we had crossed a line where this fox was clearly too habituated to safely be around humans. Not for the safety of the humans, in all honesty, but for the safety of the fox. And there could be many reasons for this. The fox could have been raised by a human illegally and then either escaped or it was released, and it shouldn't have been. Or it could have been raised by a licensed wildlife rehabber who just shouldn't have been raising that species, who did, who habituated it, released it. Or option 3, this could simply be a wild-born fox who just naturally has a bold, unique, curious personality mixed with being born near a town. This is what happens. And then somebody sent me this picture and said somebody just posted this saying they were feeding the fox a popsicle. And then there were a couple more incidents and sightings after that where I was finally like, okay, we should try to get our hands on this fox. Well, the cool thing is, a friend of mine, Susie, who's a rehabber in that town, happened to be on the phone with me. We were chatting about this, and the fox ran through her front yard. It was the funniest, like, God timing ever. We ended up live trapping him right there at her house, and we kept it honestly pretty quiet. So if you guys are watching this and you're from Palmyra and you've been wondering where George the fox went, well, George the fox is with me now. First thing I found out was that George is actually a Georgie. Georgie was way too comfortable with me when she first arrived here, but after a few weeks under my care, she's already starting to turn around, especially because I have her in my soft release enclosure that I already released a large group of foxes out of who come and visit that area at night still. They were pretty ticked off that their cage door was closed, and she's like, why do I have all these visitors coming up to my door? And it's been kind of cool to watch her interact with them through the fence. I think it's been helping her kind of wild up a bit. And then I got in a second fox a few weeks later. First we had George the fox, the Palmyra town mascot, and now we have Miss Fence Fox. On a Sunday afternoon while my family was having company over, making some snacks and drinks for the Buffalo Bills game, a fellow rehabber named Shannon texted me telling me about this fox who had its head stuck in a fence. I had hoped that this was a minor enough entrapment that she'd be able to get the fox out and it could literally just run off. However, there's always a chance that there could be more wrong. Fingers crossed, right? That was all that was going on. No, thank goodness. Shannon ended up taking a look at the fox a little further as she had her hands on it. It was urinating some blood. Its face, its jaw looked like it was injured. And when she got to my house, the fox's face was like hugely inflamed. Long story short, ended up putting this girl on some anti-inflammatory meds, some antibiotics. She started turning around super quick. I was pleased. A lot of times I have this rule where if an animal after something traumatic like that happens survives for 2 or 3 days, there's probably a good chance it's going to survive. But those first couple days are always like, you're holding your breath. Meanwhile, I already had Georgie the fox in my big soft release enclosure. I had this girl in my smaller soft release enclosure. And they both kind of showed up at the perfect time because foxes, especially when they're under a year old and they haven't quite hit sexual maturity yet, they can intermingle very easily, and it's so helpful to have them be with another member of their species. I brought our fence girl in with Georgie. They're doing great so far. I'm super excited. I think this will be the final step to really de-habituate Georgie. Now these two girls, both born this year, one in Palmyra, one in Fairport, are going to be together for a couple weeks. They're going to have each other's back. They are already curled up next to each other, looking at me like I'm the enemy when I walk in the enclosure. And then I will be soft releasing them here together. I am surrounded by lots of woods and orchards. It's a great rural setting, and foxes will travel many, many miles to find suitable territory. But a place like this is going to be a much safer head start for them than a much busier populated area.
I could not do all of this without the support from you guys, our social media fam. If you love my rescue mission and want to know how you can support, check out my nonprofit organization's Contribute page, where you can see different donation platforms and QR codes, our Amazon wish list, our Chewy wish list, merchandise, and more. Thank you guys.